Well, by now, you've likely seen the headline that a foreign country could soon have a military base right here in the Northwest, in Idaho, about 50 miles southeast of Boise. Secretary Pete Hegseth made the announcement Friday alongside leadership of the Middle Eastern country we're talking about here, Qatar.
Today, we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership.
Now, of course, in the wake of that announcement, social media was ablaze with reaction from both sides of the aisle. And while the announcement appears to mark the first time a foreign country will have its own base on U.S. soil, there's a lot of context missing if you only hear that part and not the rest of the story. So let's dive in. Qatar will not have its own separate base. It will be a group of buildings to handle training and maintenance for Qatari troops at the U.S. Air Force Mountain Home Base. A U.S. Air Force spokesperson says security at the base itself will continue to be handled by U.S. forces, requiring proper credentials to enter and things like that. In fact, that same base in Idaho has hosted a squadron of fighter jets from Singapore since 2008. Secretary Hegseth even posted on social media Friday night, writing in part, "To be clear, Qatar will not have their own base in the United States, nor anything like a base. We control the existing base like we do with all partners." It's also worth noting this agreement with Qatar has been in the works for several years. The country decided to buy the fighter jets from a U.S. government program called Foreign Military Sales back in 2017. The U.S. Air Force says discussions to train Qatari troops on those jets began shortly thereafter. Around 2020, work began on an environmental assessment to look at impacts to the area for Qatari facilities. And that assessment was completed in 2022. That's what you're looking at here. And on the flip side, Qatar hosts a U.S. airbase in the Middle East with roughly 10,000 American troops. So that's more of the background leading up to Friday's announcement. But there's been movement recently between the countries as well. 2 weeks ago, President Trump signed an executive order guaranteeing the security of Qatar, which is not a member of NATO. Shortly after that, the Israeli government and Hamas agreed to a peace deal, which Qatar was involved with. But why allow Qatar to have a military presence in the U.S.? It's a thorny issue, no doubt. Qatar has been accused of financing terrorist organizations and has played both sides of the fence when it comes to Israel and Hamas. But as many of you remember, the news of these Qatari facilities in the U.S. is not the first flight-related news involving the country and the current administration in the White House.
Qatar asked for anything in exchange for that $400 million luxury jumbo jet, and how can the American people be so sure that they will not in the future?
Well, I think what happens with the plane is that, we're very disappointed that it's taken Boeing so long to build a new Air Force One. We have an Air Force One that's 40 years old. I have a lot of respect for the leadership and for the leader, Qatar, and I think they knew about it because they buy Boeings. They buy a lot of Boeings. And they knew about it, and they said, we would like to do something, and if we can get a 747 as a contribution to our Defense Department to use during a couple of years while they're building the other ones, I think that was a very nice gesture. Now, I could be a stupid person and say, oh, no, we don't want a free plane. We give free things out. We'll take one, too. And I think this was just a gesture of good faith.
Back in May, the Defense Department announced it has officially accepted that luxury jet from Qatar to use as the new Air Force One. The gift drew concerns from lawmakers in both parties, but that did nothing to stop the plane's delivery. Also worth noting, a Trump-branded golf course is being developed in Qatar. So that can't really be ignored here either, as the Trump organization's business deals with foreign governments, with President Trump still in office, have generated questions as well. But back to the original headline here, a foreign country building a military base on U.S. soil. Qatar will not have its own base, but it will have its own facilities as part of a U.S. Air Force base.